And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Ryan Metzler.
Hey everybody, Ryan Metzler here, and today we're going to be taking a look at a game that is not yet published but is well on its way. We're going to take a look at Empires of the Void, which is currently on Kickstarter, designed, and he both designed the game and did the artwork by a guy named Ryan Lockett. Empires of the Void is a civilization and exploring game in which you'll take on the role of an empire trying to expand their influence throughout the galaxy by allying and conquering planets and doing combat with the other explorers of the galaxy. So with that said, why don't we take a look at what comes inside this game, or what will come inside this game, how the game plays, and then I'll give you what my thoughts are on it. Each player will have their own little race card, which is going to be the race that they control throughout the game, and will give them information about how to play the game as well as any special benefits they might receive. For example, this is the sheet for the Academy of Eeg, which is going to show this player that they first off start with several special abilities. The first, called Crystallic Fusion, which is going to allow them to have an extra card in their hand, and the second, called Subspace Scan, which is going to give one of their ships the Detect ability, and I'm not going to go over all of the abilities. In addition, it's going to show you all of the possible actions you can take on a turn, how much ships cost to build, how much certain actions require in order, if you pay some cards you get a reduction to some of the actions, or the difficulty of some of the actions, and just various other things throughout the game. For example, how much credits you get each turn, or how many credits you get each turn. In addition, each player is going to have some ships. And so you can see here, this is an example of one of the ships. You have other ships that look different. You know, we have centipedes and all types of different types of ships, and some other tokens to use throughout the game, such as both enemy and ally markers. So here you can see the board for Empires of the Void set up for 4 players. You can see there's a center tile with the planet Pirius, and this will always be the center tile, but all of these other hexagons can be moved around the board and rotated in different manners in order to give you a different board each time. At the edges of the board you can see there are 4 planets, and they're represented by these planet discs. These are going to be the home planets for the 4 players in the game, and this will be where they're building their ships and moving everything out of. Each of the players will start on one of these planets and expand from that point. At the beginning of each round, players will first be able to research technologies, and they'll do this by spending credits or having goods, or any combination of various things having prerequisites, and there are several different types. You already saw 2 on a player sheet, but for example, here's Crystallic Fusion again, or we have Centipede, which will allow you to build the Centipede ships that I showed you earlier. You also have things like Star Cruiser, which will allow you to build the Star Cruiser ship, but first you have to pay 5 credits and you have to have the Centipede beforehand. And so by upgrading technologies, you'll be able to do more things throughout the board. Some of them let you fly through asteroids, some of them let you move multiple ships at a time. It just varies on what they allow you to do. After you have researched the technology, you'll be able to build ships. And you're going to build ships by paying credits for them. And credits will be earned by conquering planets and by allying planets, and you'll get those at the end of each turn. But you can build ships, and there's various different types of ships that look like this, or some bigger ships that look like that one. You have the Centipede, and there are other ships that only apply once you've gotten specific upgrades from conquering different planets. After you've done both of those things, what is called the pre-round phase is over, and you will go on to do an event. And there is a deck of event cards that's pre-set up so that you have a specific amount of rounds, and they look like this. There's supposed to be 13 rounds in the game, and each round you'll flip one of these cards. And so you flip the card and you would do exactly what it says. For example, this one says, Enrock is under attack by unknown invaders. Roll 1 success attack to defeat them. If you own Emrock, lose control until invaders are defeated. If you don't own it and defeat the aliens, the planet becomes your ally. So this is going to be an event that will put something out on the board which will allow you to kill them in order to ally a planet. After you've done that, each player is going to go through and take their actions in player order. And so actions are going to be several different things. And why don't we show you one of the player boards so we can go over those real quick. Here we are on a different player's player board, and what we're looking at is the 5 different actions that you can perform on your turn. And the 5 actions are as follows. The first action is attacking, and what you're going to be doing here is you're going to be trying to conquer a planet that you're sitting at. So for example, if you happen to be at, it doesn't matter what random planet, you could use your ships in order to try and attack them. And whatever ships you have there would roll their attack value, which is going to be the center number here. And they would take one die and they would roll the die and they're going to compare it to their attack value. So for example, here's a 4. I rolled a 4, that would be a hit. If there were enemy ships there, I would be able to damage those ships. If there were not enemy ships there, I would just need one success in order to conquer the planet. And conquering planets is going to give you benefits. Conquering a planet will look something like this. You'll get one of these cards, and you will get the credits, the victory points, and the trade good associated with that planet for conquering it. But you will not get some of the other benefits. Moving is going to allow you to move one of your ships, or more if you have certain technologies, and you're going to be able to move them the distance, which is in this little green triangle here next to the ship. So for example, the Firebug can move 3 distance, as long as it's not moving through any terrain that it's not allowed to move through, such as asteroids or monsters, unless you have the appropriate technology. Culture is going to allow you to draw a card from the culture deck. And there, in the 2-player game, will be some face-up culture cards, but there may not in other variations of the game. And culture cards are going to look like this. They're going to say one type of alien race, for example, this one says mysterious, and then they're going to show another type of benefit that you can get for discarding these cards. So this card will be used either for allying with a mysterious race, or you can discard 2 of these cards in order to get a victory point as outlined by the text on the card. Mining is simply going to allow you to get 1 credit, and it can only be done once per turn. But credits take the form of little triangle markers, look like this, and are going to be the currency for the game for buying ships and for buying new technologies. Finally, you have the diplomacy action, and diplomacy is going to be what you use in order to ally with planets. When you're at an appropriate planet, you can use those culture cards that I showed earlier to attempt to ally with a planet. And the more culture cards of the appropriate type that you have in discard, the better options or the better chance you're going to have of colonizing a planet. So for example, if I had 2 mysterious cards, I would have a better chance of colonizing, or allying with, a mysterious planet. The amount of cards you discard is going to dictate how big of a roll you need on 3 dice. If I only discard 1 card, I'm going to need a 17 or greater on 3 dice, 2 cards a 13, 3 cards an 8, and 4 cards a 4. And I would show these cards and roll my dice, and let's say I discarded 3 cards, I would need an 8. Well, I got more than an 8 and I would be successful. I would discard the cards. If I was not successful, I would be able to keep the cards and put them back into my hand. For successfully allying with a planet, you are also going to get their card associated with that planet and the race. But instead of only getting the credits, victory points, and trade good, you're also going to get their influence and their special ability, which can range depending on what specific race you're looking at. For example, the one I just showed you allows you to get 1 more build credit at the beginning of your turn. As the game progresses, you'll be going through more and more rounds, and let's say the green player made enemies with this planet. They conquered it, they get its goods, but not all of its benefits, and maybe, they also allied with this planet, and, they have all kinds of benefits. And eventually you're going to flip enough of these cards from event phases going through rounds that you're going to get to a score card. And score cards are going to outline how you score. Basically, you're going to score points for several different things. The first is that you're going to get victory points based on whatever technologies you have. So you're going to have these technologies, and in the bottom left-hand corner, it's going to be really hard to see, but there's a little purple 1. It's going to show that you get 1 victory point. And that's going to correspond to a victory point token, which looks like this. And you'll get these tokens, and you will accumulate victory points throughout the game. The second way you're going to score victory points is for any planets that you control, either allied or conquered. And so all of the cards, like I showed you earlier, will have a purple symbol on them. Like this, you'll see the center circle center symbol is a purple symbol, worth 2 victory points. So you'll add that to your victory points. Finally, you're going to get the influence of any planets that you happen to be allied with. And again, allied influence will be the purple number on the far right there, so this one is worth 2, and whoever happens to have the most influence is going to get a certain amount of victory points based on where they fall on this Pyrrhias track. So the person with the most, for example, in the first phase is going to get 2 victory points, whereas the person with the second most is going to get 1 victory point. You'll continue on with intermittent scoring rounds at certain phases in the game until you get to the last scoring round, at which point you will total all of your victory points and find out who is the overall winner of Empires of the Void. That's Empires of the Void, a current Kickstarter title which is looking for support. Kind of an Ameritrashy game, which isn't usually my style of game, but a very good one in my opinion. Now, I want to remind everybody that these are not the final components, and even though they look very nice, the components may change in the final copy of the game. They'll probably be made out of cardboard, where this is made out of foam, but all in all, I think the production quality is very good, considering that this is just a prototype of the game. The rules are polished and easy to understand, and the gameplay is fun, if a little bit random for my usual tastes. I mean, there's a lot of die rolling in trying to attack planets, in trying to ally with planets, but this can be mitigated by having either enough ships there in order to conquer the planet, or enough of your culture cards in order to effectively ally with the planet. Basically, you're going to be building a civilization by getting more and more technologies, selling more and more planets, and gaining more and more money in order to build more ships. So, I would suggest taking a look at Empires of the Void. The game will play up to 4 players, it's going to be different every time, and it's really just all around a fun game. So if you're looking for a good civilization game, check out Kickstarter, support Empires of the Void, and I think you'll end up with a great product.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.